bad things happen or unfortunate scenarios happening, but dealing with them is what champs are made of. And I really like that hit home. It's like, yeah, I was able to push through that and somehow
exactly,
luckily,
if everything was smooth sailing, right? Nothing
the value, I don't think I would have valued a bronze as much. Like, say for example, if everything went to plan, I would have been very disappointed with a bronze given what I knew I was capable of. But I was like over the moon because I thought, I'm not gonna place, right? So then the value, really understand the value of something when you're almost about to lose it or you've lost it essentially. That's when it becomes the most meaningful. I've learned from doing enough of time trials is I don't only look at power and I don't only look at speed. So anyone who wants to get into time trialing and wants to understand how to pace it, you have to look at both of them in accordance to each other. So if you are getting speed, don't look at the power number. Doesn't matter. It's fine. Don't try and force the power, because you trying to force the power might in fact play a negative role. You trying to force the power could mean your position gets worse, which means you're wasting energy just to go maybe 1 kilometer an hour faster. Like you could put out 20-30 watts extra, but you'll go 1 kilometer an hour faster. But then switch that around. If you're not getting speed, start looking at the power number. If you're going slowly, you need to understand that okay, there's something acting on you which is making you go slowly, which is either wind or gradient. And now in order to maximize your performance, you need to start putting out the power there. When you're going slowly. So if your speed, for my rule of thumb is if the speed drops below 40, that's when I start considering power numbers. If it's above, otherwise I pace it normally. 40 to 50 is like you pace it like how you would pace it.
I am Venki, a working professional in IT as well as an amateur masters athlete and a coach for endurance sports. You are listening to the Working Athlete podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, I have a small request from you. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also let me know what you like and what you would like to listen to more of by commenting in the comment section on YouTube. I promise to do my best to improve with each episode and bring you the best content that helps you and me get better each day. In this episode, I talked to Joel Sundaram, who just came back from winning the Asian Championships selection trials. Since the last time we spoke on the podcast, he won a bronze medal at nationals in cycling and a bunch of other races. In this episode, we talk about what transpired over the last year or so with his training and racing, and how he has been dealing with multiple crashes and various other setbacks to come back stronger. We spoke about the mistakes and the learnings from those mistakes and how they have been helping in his journey. As always, he brings a refreshing bit of honesty and fun to the conversation. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. This episode is brought to you by The Bike Affair. If you are in search of a one-stop destination that caters to all your cycling needs, our today's sponsor, The Bike Affair, is the perfect place to check out. I have known the founders of The Bike Affair, Krish and Gokul, personally for nearly 15 years now. In fact, my first century ride was with Krish back in 2008. They are both exceptional human beings and entrepreneurs that believe in providing exceptional service to their customers. And it shows. With over 14 years of experience, The Bike Affair has established itself as a trusted source offering honest advice and exceptional service. They are offering a special treat for the listeners of this podcast. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your first order by using the code BikeyVenki on their website. So if you are in Hyderabad, visit their store in Kondapur, or if you are anywhere else in India, shop online by using the link thebikeaffair.com. I will leave the link in the show notes. Now, enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the Working Athlete podcast again, Joel.
Third time running. Yes, thank you. Good to be back. I've gotten old since the last time. I've gone through 2 birthdays. I've become an uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, and my parents have become grandparents. That's a little scary.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I'm about to become a grandparent.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Not my immediate,
But still counts.
I know. My brother's, daughter is about to.
Oh, wow. Congrats. That's nice.
I am going to be a granddad soon.
Granddad Venki. That is what you'll be referred to now.
Yeah. So, since the last time we spoke, a lot has happened.
Last time we spoke was after my National Games Gujarat medal.
Correct.
Yeah. My goodness. A lot has happened since then.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start? Good, bad, ugly?
Yeah, let's start anywhere you want.
So after the National Games Gujarat came back and, there was obviously Nandi Epic and then preparing for the National Championships of 22, which was going to happen in January 23 because they like to do that, have it the next year, which was going to be in Nasik. So I was preparing for that. And within that time, I got hit by vehicles twice.
Wow.
So one day was before my birthday. I wanted to ride to Nandi, warm up and then I was riding with Kavi. Then out of nowhere, a guy who was on his phone motorbike came and hit me from behind. Luckily, no damage to me there, but my bibs got ruined. My bike broke a little bit.
All the stuff that costs money.
Priorities. Body was fine. But But the Velo Studio guys helped me get it ready, and then the next day I climbed Nandi 6 times non-stop.
The very next day.
Yeah, the next day. Because I was turning 24.
Right.
So if you climb Nandi 6 times, that's 2,400 meters elevation.
Oh,
The significance of that, yeah.
Nice.
So I had company of Shaurya and Priya there for that. It was like a nice day, but yeah. The adrenaline, I was bandaged up a little bit, but still rode it.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. And then, things were going well. Went up to Ooty as I normally do before any big race to get ready. And TFN was happening that time and everybody was in town. You were sick.
Yeah.
I heard about the torrential weather you guys had the first few days of TFN 2022.
Right.
Yeah. So you were sick. So then I thought, okay, I'll come ride up, see the guys. So met a couple of the guys at the hotel, the Highlands near Dodobetta. The first day, then came back. Then the next day, the day before you all left, I thought, okay, I'll come and see you guys again because you guys had gone to Kunda and then were climbing back up. So you'd have to climb the Dodobetta climb.
Right.
So that's my favorite climb to climb. I thought, okay, I'd finished my ride. Why not? 3 kilometers, I'll go and I'll come back. Out of the, how many people at TFN? 100 and something?
Yeah.
100 and something people who had to climb that day. I got hit by a car. Me. Out of 100 people that climbed that climb.
No, they found the local.
Yeah.
They identified.
I was wearing pink. I was wearing bright pink. And the guy was distracted again on his phone. He hit me. And that one was a little bit more painful because I just got my look. It's 2 days old. And boom, I got hit, rear-ended while climbing. The impact in that was more painful because the bike flew from underneath me and I landed on my tailbone. And I immediately felt a very sharp pain. My thing was there's something wrong. I was just lying there. And then I had Bluetooth earphones in. So I immediately pressed and I said, hey Siri, call Vijay Prabhu, who's my friend in Ooty. Oh, he's calling right now. But he was in a meeting. He immediately left it, came, helped me. And it was a funny story enough. Those guys actually absconded, but we had a picture of their number plate. So then he called the local police and then they put out a polo and within an hour they were brought back. So good. It's nice to have connections, when in place like that. But nothing came of it. I was in a lot of pain for that time. But everything in the back of the head was nationals. I'll be ready. Form was there, fitness was there, everything was there. We drove, Shaurya and I drove to Nasik, 2-day drive. And then Srinath and Sangeeta were in another car. They also drove. It was a good trip getting there. First few days, it was great. We had a nice, bunch of people there. Surya, Bindya, Nandini. We had come to support. And Krish from Chennai for photos, he had come as well. So we stayed in this one hotel, all of us. It's really good fun. Really, everything was going great. And then 2 days before the ITT, while TT training, I had a very, very unfortunate accident, which I don't remember.
Right. Yeah. ended up hitting a dog or something.
Hit a dog at like 60 kilometers an hour.
Jeez, yeah,
I think-
that was really bad. Yeah.
I think I flew over the bars, landed on my face. I was wearing my arrowhead, Giro arrowhead. So it sticks out like a far bit. You can see on camera. So it sticks out there.
Yeah.
And then the visor covers it.
Yeah.
That bit of the helmet took brunt of the impact. Like, if not for that bit, I don't know. I might have had a fractured orbital socket. You don't know. Never know. But what had happened was the visor had shattered and it ended up cutting me right here.
Right. Just underneath.
Underneath the eye. Yeah. And I had to get 36 stitches in my face.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I think I must have landed on my head because they did a MRI and there was a fractured C3. And the first thing, I don't remember any of this. The last thing I remember is us taking pictures before. And then the first thing I remember vividly is when the surgeon was like stitching my face because they only gave local anesthesia. So I remember waking up, seeing a bright light, and then there was like a needle right there. And then like sort of few things started coming back. Like I think the Air Force coach helped. Like first thing said, like I don't know what I would have done without the people being there to support me. Like they immediately you know who they are. It's Nandi, Shaurya, Surya, Sangeeta, Srinath. They were like immediately scooped me up, rushed me to whatever the local hospital was. I think the Air Force coach, Barik sir, he was there with me. I remember him shouting at me like screaming. I don't remember. There must have been a lot of pain. There's a video. And he's like, Joel, move band kar. Because I know him from the 2022 national camp in Asians.
Right.
Yeah, he helped, I think, a little when they found a local hospital, but I think it wasn't good enough. So then Nandini said told them to take me to Apollo. And then, that's when I remember everything. The pain was unbelievable. Like my entire right side of my face was swollen. I had stitches here.
And this is
2 days before Nationals.
the Nationals.
2 days before the ITT, where I am coming in like the best form, riding off the medal of Gujarat. And I'm feeling very confident. And this happens. And it was just like November, I got hit by a bike. December, I got hit by a car. In January, I hit a dog. It's just like that string of month after month after month. The luck was just horrible.
Right.
And those moments, like you just question, it's like, what are you doing? What am I doing? Why does this keep happening?
Right.
And I mean, it is what it is. I wanted to race, but they were like, there's no way you can race. You've just lost way too much blood. Like sometimes right now, I still find myself in the shower, like trying to force myself to remember what happened. I have no recollection. So 10 hours just wiped clean.
Yeah, obviously concussion.
I had a terrible headache for like the next week after that. But really happy to be alive, having gone through that. I mean, and a bunch of like scars on my hands, my knees and everything. But
so that Nationals
was a
did not happen.
It
was right off. Right.
And it was generally a write-off, not just for me. It was a write-off for everybody. Like, I don't think anyone was in the mindset after that to race because yes, they put so much of effort into looking after me.
Right.
It's like, Shaurya, Srinath, Nandini, just couldn't really race to their maximum potential because you just watch.
Right.
I mean, if I was in their shoes, I don't think I would have even raced.
Right.
Like, honestly, because it's scary. You realize how scary the sport actually is. But
so how was it like coming back from there, and how was the recovery? How long did it take for you to?
If I'm being 100% honest, I'm still recovering because I ignored every bit of doctor advice to rest and recover because the extent of the injuries was not really known fully. So like I still had that pain from that car hitting me in Ooty. Then I had a new pain here in my neck, and then my stitches, and then the open wounds on my knees, and it's just like it wasn't thinking much. But 9 days after that, there was Promise was conducting his PSC ITT. I was like, I'll do this. Stitches are coming off the day before, so why not do this? It's a bit of my own personal ego, and competitiveness. I wanted to race. I had trained so hard for a year. Just wanted to get it out of the way, some race or the other. So the night before my stitches came out, then I was like, I first ride on the bike, let it be a race. Why not? What's going to happen? So I took and I hadn't gotten to race the look. Like a brand new bike, I haven't raced it yet, so I was like, I need to break this in. So I did the ITT on the look with bandaged up knees and bandaged up hands.
Right.
But yeah, it was good. I mean, the form was obviously there. I did a pretty good TT, having not ridden a bike for 10 days. But then after that, I really felt it. I went back home. My parents were like super worried, so they asked me to come back home. I stayed with them for like a month and a half, 2 months. Yeah, and that's when, going up to cold conditions, your muscles really feel the pain. So it's quite brutal, but I would still ride every now and then, train occasionally. But yeah, just I think it was a hairline fracture here and the one on the tailbone as well.
In the neck.
Yeah, vertebrae. I mean, there's not really much you can do, because if you immobilize it, then you just lose one muscle, and then in the tailbone, what are you going to do? You can't do anything. So just sort of live through the pain and try not to push it.
Let it heal
on its own. Yeah. But it was like good. I took that February, like didn't ride out much, rode mostly on the trainer just to keep myself fit. Like I have a thing of like not dropping my Training Peak CTL below a certain number. So I just wanted to maintain that. And then, yeah, slowly injuries recovered. The wounds on my knees took a very long time to recover. I think mostly because of how deep they were and also me not looking after it very well.
Right.
It's just my own irresponsibility. But yeah, but those moments, it's like you really have to have a reason to cycle in order to push past that and continue cycling. Because it was, and my parents and friends, everybody's been unbelievably supportive of, because I think they see it, and I know how much of joy actually cycling brings me. It's like it goes way beyond wanting to win races and wanting to compete. I started cycling in COVID, so it's just the joy of being alone out on your bike, just riding wherever you want to go. Like that's what kept me going and wanting me to get back into it. I love competing. I'm very competitive, but like, even if I was to stop competing tomorrow, I'd still ride my bike just from the pure joy that I feel from riding my bike.
Yeah, that is very important.
Yeah.
I see a lot. I mean, now I've been on the bike for the last 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
And I've seen over the years, 17 years.
That is flown.
And I've seen a lot of people just very enthusiastic, got on the bike, upgraded, competed in a bunch of races, and as quickly
whittle out.
They would, they would drop off the radar, and that is not the saddest part. The saddest part is they stop riding completely.
Yeah. Sell the equipment.
It's just that's why it is great to hear from you saying even if I stop competing tomorrow, I'll still ride the bike. That is you always got to remember why you started. What joy it gives you.
I didn't start riding because I wanted to race.
Right.
I was convinced to race. Like I really did not want to race. I actually used to look down on people who raced. I was that much of a snob, but I started riding just because of unless you ride a bike, you won't understand what I'm talking about. The freedom that you feel when you're just riding through the countryside, you don't see vehicles for like maybe 5 minutes and you just get to listen to the atmosphere around, feel the wind. It's just, I don't know. There's no other feeling I felt it apart from that. But
Right. That's great. So what was the next big thing? We're still talking about 2023.
Yeah, it's starting.
February was wiped out. You took a bit of time off and started riding. What were you preparing then?
At that moment, I didn't have any immediate riding plans. It's sort of just like see it through. Something that I didn't think about, which later on came back to bite me in the butt, was after my crash at Nasik, I gave up my entry. So basically, since Nationals hadn't technically started yet, it was 2 days before, I withdrew from Nationals. So the person who was next in line got the spot. But since I withdrew, that meant I technically did not qualify for Nationals, which meant I could not take part in national games.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Right.
I didn't know that at the time. So in my head, I was like, national games will be coming up. Goa national games should be good. So up until when they announced the list for national, which was what, August, I was assuming that I'm preparing for national games. Oh, actually, I also was preparing for, I thought there'd be like an Asian championship selections because Asians, like last year I got selected. So I thought, okay, this year let me try. So those are the two main targets, immediate targets. But I was slowly getting back to form. Then in March, the boys decided to have a wild idea of being the heaviest team at Tour of Thekkady. All of us were not informed. So we decided to sign up as a group. So John, Shaurya, Ben and me, 4 of us, decided to go to the Tour of Thekkady, which is one of the most brutal races in
some 160 kilometers.
Yeah, with 3,000
meters,
3,500 meters of elevation. I'm in off-season peak 75 kilos, John 76, 77 kilos, Ben 70. Shaurya is always fit, but still. At the same time, I was just like, okay, how are we going to do this? So it was basically if you register at a team, they'd take an aggregate of your placings and add it up, and whoever has the lowest number would, they'll rank it accordingly.
Right.
So we went there. My dad drove me down from, I was in Kodi with them. So it's quite close actually from Kodaikanal. So we drove down and then he supported behind in the car while we rode. Unfortunately, they started the race in pitch darkness, like
very early.
Very, very early, because apparently it just gets way too hot and unbearable to ride. At least in the city, in the Kottayam part, as you're exiting Kottayam. But the road that they chose is for the route, in order to make it 160 kilometers long, is not the most direct road to Thekkady. It's actually the alternate route, which doesn't have the best tarmac. So, in my eyes, I would have neutralized as much as possible until the light came out, but that wasn't a thing that they did. So when certain people decided to start racing in the traffic, in the darkness, it was really scary because there was a big bunch of us. It's a single lane road. So one lane for oncoming and one lane for the other side. So vehicles that were behind us were trying to overtake. So about, like, say 70, maybe more riders. When you're trying to overtake, you kind of have to pass a lot, right? Now, if a vehicle comes oncoming at that point, what do?
Right.
They squeeze us out. Where else are they going to go? Right. So it's really very sketchy. So I thought, okay, I'll stay.
It's a single road, as in no divider in between.
No divider.
Okay,
no divider.
That's
and it was a solid white line. I don't even think it was dotted. So solid white line usually means no overtaking.
Right.
So it was scary. So I thought I'll go to the front. Okay, at least keep things controlled. Then the marshals and the markings, there was a lot of confusion. I took a wrong turn and then everyone else was going this way, so I had to come back to the back. Came back to the back and so dark. We had lights on our bikes, but just if you're going at 50 kilometers an hour, 40 kilometers an hour, the light is not showing you far enough in front. You see things and it's too late. And then I remember there's a massive hole in the middle of the road. Massive. Bunny hoppable if you react in time. So I sort of saw the rider in front of me avoid it or go through it. I think it was Sudhi who went through the hole and punctured. Okay, I think, but he was able to get his front wheel up, so he didn't crash, but he punctured on that hole. So I avoided it, but Shaurya was right behind me and I shouted, I said hole, but too late. He went straight in it and unfortunately landed on his hand and fractured it. At that point, he didn't know he fractured it, but
I remember.
He was in a lot of pain. Luckily, my dad was supporting behind, so he sat in the car. And that turned out to be helpful to us, because 160 kilometer race, he was giving out feeds and what they were doing was shuttling forward. So because we were all in different parts of the course, so they drive up to me, give me a feed, wait for John, give him a feed, wait for Ben, give a feed, drive back up, feed. And they were doing a really good job.
A lot of work.
A lot of driving. I think it was 160 kilometers. They would have driven 200, 250, who knows how many kilometers they drove. But so my dad and Shaurya, they helped us a lot. And I think we ended up placing second overall. I came second.
Even without Shaurya.
Yeah, so Ben finishing was very vital for us there. And I finished second individually and the team finished second overall. So it was quite successful. I mean, at the point, when Shaurya crashed, I stopped and I'd lost the peloton. So now I had no idea where to go. So I had Google Maps open. was like searching this road, okay, this, because the GPX file that they gave didn't like have the correct turnings. So I had to like half phone, like navigate myself and race at the same time. Very unique experience. I haven't experienced that before. Then finally caught up to the bunch, then realized that there were like 5 riders ahead. So then I had to attack, try and chase them down. And then slowly, one by one, it's a race of attrition. Like, you know, if you don't fuel properly, you're popping.
Yeah.
Especially when you start climbing, in the heat, the humidity. Very challenging race. I would really encourage people to do it just to understand, like, you know, get a small glimpse of what racing, like really challenging racing feels like, or like just riding in harsh conditions, elevation. Yeah, but being 75 kilos in off season and doing a climbing race, wouldn't recommend that bit. But everything else, yes, would recommend it. And I think since then they've made a few changes, and, you know, being able to control the start of the race just for safety, out of safety point of view, because you are racing on open roads, right? You have to keep in mind that riders have to be protected to some extent. You can't coddle them in a bubble, but to some extent there has to be, you know, neutral zones and instructions given about not attacking at certain points, like we do. And I think in Bangalore we sort of self-regulate it. Like we say no attacking at U-turns, no overtaking vehicles on the right side, right lane, don't attack through the right lane. So that sort of thing, once it passes over to the other cities as well, I think it'll make racing much pleasant for everybody. But yeah, finished that, then came back to Bangalore, couple of BBCH races. Did a few ITTs on the look to test how good it is. And it's good bike, fast bike. But yeah, I was preparing for Asian selections, which I assumed would be in April or May. Then they decided to not send an elite team because I think the time difference between the Asian track and the Asian road was too close. So, you know, because there's a lot of crossover between track and road riders. So I think they wanted to focus more on the road. So they sent junior teams, but not an elite. More on the track, sorry. Yeah. So they sent the junior teams, but not the elite team.
For the road.
Yeah. Because it was, I think, going to be either way wrong. In Malaysia for the track and then Thailand for the road. And then I don't know which one, I don't remember which one was first. So they were just like, yeah, there's no point sending a road team. So that big event once scrapped. But yeah, this prep was going good. Again, doing all these smaller like local events. And I love racing just because every time you race, no matter how big or small the race is, I always learn something new. And it gives you this opportunity to push yourself, which you do not push in training. Like, I don't know, it's like a psychological thing, or I don't know what it is.
We can't really put ourselves
maximum effort.
That adrenaline that you get while racing always helps you to kind of,
and it's always you're pushing those boundaries, and something that you thought would not be possible is possible. Like, I never thought I'd do a 160 kilometer 3,500 meters climbing race being unfit, but I did it, and it doesn't seem as daunting anymore. I'd love to do it again. But yeah. So,
and Asians, they was not happening.
No.
Elite road team was not going. So that was out.
Yeah.
But then came the national game.
That was my next big target.
Right.
And then in between, what happened? Oh yeah, the BBCH Hassan Express happened, where I made a stupid mistake. In the last 18 months, I have had quite a few crashes and accidents, but none of them, apart from this, has been my fault. This is the one thing that has been my fault. I decided to change everything on my drivetrain 2 days before the race. I thought, okay, it's time I change stuff. I'll put, a new cassette on, new jockey wheels, new chain, wax chain, go all full fancy. Changed everything except my chain rings, which I didn't realize had seen around 30,000 kilometers, which is a bit much for a set of chain rings.
Maybe not if you are kind of careful with other components, changing the chains and stuff.
I was not very careful. And then when you put a brand new chain on something that's a little bit worn, that chain ring worked well with like slightly used chains, but a brand new chain, I didn't realize until it was too late. We were like attacking in the race, and then my chain slipped twice. And then I realized, oh dear, this is what it is. So then we took the U-turn, and then I think Rick, our Dutch tower who used to race here last year, he decided to launch one. I followed him, and then I thought I'll counter off of him or something along the lines. And I made up my mind to sit and then put out the power, not to accelerate, because then that's when the chain has a bigger chance of slipping. That slipped my mind, and I stood up and tried to sprint, and it was like resistance, and then nothing.
Yeah,
it just like it's. But when you're putting out 1,000 watts and then it's zero suddenly, the force is I just like lost my bike, and I just fell, and another guy behind me crashed because of me, and I felt really bad about that. But yeah, a bunch of road rash and stuff, but the bike, the shifter had tilted in or something, or the hanger had bent or something. The bike was unrideable, so I was like, there's no point, let it be. I just put the bike. Neil's car was there to support us that race, so I put the bike on the car, went back. Then I had to go to Chennai for something, so I went to Chennai and I fixed a ride with Andrew there, getting my bike cleaned, and then I had a baby wipe, and I just was cleaning the bike, and then fibers from the baby wipe got stuck, and I was like, interesting. And I noticed big crack on the top tube.
Oh, damn.
Then I was like, no way, the bike is actually broken. This is not happening. So then obviously unrideable. So then I had to send it for repair. And which means I wouldn't have that bike for at least better part of 2 months. So yeah, that was a bummer. But I mean, I had a good opportunity to like ride other bikes and not be fixed on like, I'm usually very picky about, I want to ride this equipment, this position, and I adjust everything. But at that point, it's like beggars can't be choosers. Whatever bike is there, I will ride because I love riding a bike. So Andrew lent me his wife's bike when we adjusted everything, changed the saddle, and I rode it there for a couple days. Then Neil lent me his Specialized for a better part of like a month and a half. And like good fun to like ride different bikes and just not be as picky as I normally am. So I think that bit of me has like gone away.
Right.
Being a complete butt when it comes to riding my own equipment and like my own bike with this setup. I just ride anything. I'll just adjust the saddle height and I'll ride it. But yeah. And then did the Bangalore Classic race here. This is always fun. I love the classic race because it's a proper like nice long race of attrition where you're fueling your strategy. Everything comes into, I wish like other races would be like 160 kilometers long because that's when you really get to test yourself. But yeah, I made a few mistakes there, just more out of like, being overly cautious, having crashed the last race and not wanting to. Like, I didn't trust my bike, which is a very weird experience. Like, I didn't trust putting out power. I just kept imagining the chain slipping and crashing again. And
yeah, that when something like that kind of happens, there will be some, after the
first time I experienced that was a very weird experience because I was just doubting myself in every time. What would normally come to me, like when your speed picks up and people in the front start slowing down, I always like that's the time to attack. And I just was checking myself, I was like, should I really? What if I slip here? No, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I did end up attacking at a point and made the break, but I didn't feel comfortable riding my bike. But then I think over a few weeks of riding it became okay. And then that's all I got to ride that bike again because then I got hit by a car.
Oh, damn.
While training, I think I did a 170 kilometer ride on my own. I really enjoy riding on my own. I like company, but I enjoy riding on my own because it just gives me a lot of time to sit and just process thoughts, which, and it's in a good way because you have to focus on other things as well. But you just like, I wouldn't say overthinking, but just thinking.
Right.
And it's good to think every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, finished the ride, was coming back like 2 kilometers from my house, Hennur Cross. Traffic, metro construction, guy was not paying attention, rear-ended me, but nothing. I stayed on the bike and everything stayed upright. But what had happened was my chain fell off the chain ring and I didn't realize it and I was clipped in. And then when I tried to put power, my foot was like at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, which is the worst place because you cannot unclip in that position. One foot has to be down. So I was like, shit, I'm either going to fall now or I have to force a foot down. I forced my right foot down and the chain basically acted like a saw and like cut a hole in my bottom bracket shell.
Oh, shit.
A massive hole. It cut through the carbon and I heard it. It was like,
oh, man.
It's the most depressing sound I've ever heard.
painful.
I just moved to the side and I just, please don't be broken. Please don't be broken. I look down, I see a hole. Then I sort of rolled back home slowly as much as I could. Then consulted with a bunch of different mechanics and consulted with consulted with, carbon repair people. And they're like, yeah, you need to get that repaired because it's like, that's the part of the bike which experiences the most force.
Correct.
So
yeah,
don't do anything jugaad, get it done properly. So once again, ship my bike off to Bombay. And this time round, the issue was to make that repair. A lot of the paint would have to be removed, including some of the branding. And the guy who did it, Mark Billamoria from Kenny Cycles, he gave me an offer. He said, dude, I have to remove most of the paint from your bike. Do you want me to repaint it? And I've always liked the idea of a carbon bike, exposed, no paint, nothing. I was like, yes, this is the opportunity. I told him, remove the paint, just put the branding on. But then I don't want anything. I want it to be carbon and clear coat. And he's like, oh, sounds sick. Let's do it. And he did it. And now that's how my bike turned from white to black. It's the same bike. It's not a new bike.
And in the process, you lost the weight of...
I lost 200 grams. 200 grams of paint.
Wow.
Yeah. 200 grams of paint lost from that. So a little lighter. I mean, not big a deal. But yeah, a lot of people think it's a new bike, but it's not. It's just repainted. Well, paint removed.
Right.
So it sort of gave like this new lease on this bike, which I quite liked because it's like, it's like, to me, it felt like I was riding a different bike. It wasn't the same one that had been hit by vehicles and crashed here and crashed there. So it just felt like a new beginning for the bike. And I looked at it as for myself as well, okay, this is going to be a new beginning for my cycling going forward, because there was a point in the middle of last year where I was just questioning, why am I doing this? Crashing, getting hit, crashing, bike braking again. It's just, why am I doing this? Why am I competing? The amount of money that I'm spending while I'm not earning anything, I'm just burning through my parents' help and whatever little money is saved from doing certain things. You just really, really have to be motivated to achieve something, which is, for me, I do have a few targets which I want to achieve before I can say I'll hang up the wheels. But that was like, good. I didn't have that, like, for me, I'd say from 21 when I started competing, everything just happened so quickly. Like the 10th in nationals, then being selected for the camp, then being selected to Asians, and then not riding Asians, then getting the national games medal. So all of that happened very quickly, like time that just...
Correct.
And then 22 October to 23, effectively, 23 September. 23 October. Nothing happened. Like, it was like still, there was no big event. There was no, like, you sort of...
and all these, crazy...
Yeah, crazy things happen. And you realize how quickly... I mean, for lack of a better word, I'd say relevant. How irrelevant you sort of become when you don't achieve things, or like you're not progressing. Because when you're progressing, everybody expects you to like do more. And then when you do nothing, you sort of lose that relevancy. And I felt that, and it was a very I think it was a good reality check which you need. It humbled me down to like realizing, I'm not nothing. I'm nothing. You need to, whatever respect that you get, it has to be earned, in racing, in everything. So there's no point just being an asshole and trying to get by. You have to sort of, be a nice person first of all. And then the racing, everything, the competitiveness, the respect, everything else comes after that. So it was a reality check I needed, but I didn't like experiencing it. But it really helped me find out, like, rejuvenate my urge to want to race and do well. And then having this bike, now this was a longer repair which it had to be done. It had to be away for about 2 or 3 months. I got back my Van Rysel. And riding that bike, it brought back so many memories because, like, I bought that bike from when I was in Decathlon, when I worked there, and like it's simple. It's a double triangle, aluminium, bog standard, everything. And the confidence that I had riding that bike is like, I don't care what happens to it. Right. So I'll just ride it like, there's no end. I didn't clean it like for 2 months, just rode it and got it as dirty as possible. But those 2 months of riding that bike, it made me fall in love with cycling all over again. It's a horrible bike to ride. It's painful. There is no absorption. but it just does its job. It's just a simple job of getting you from point A to point B as hard as you want to ride. That's the reason I'm very sentimental towards that bike. I've been able to build it up again as its own separate bike, so at any moment I can just put wheels on it and go out and ride.
Right.
So I love that bike, and then I got to put it to its test at HCL Cyclothon in Chennai. Yeah.
Right.
So I thought my look would be ready by then, but then it wasn't. And this was one of the, the big races of the year where all the top boys would be there, and good prize money on the line. I think it was 1.2 lakhs for the winner, and then going down. I think the prize pool was 15 lakhs. So
wow.
So from first place to I think 15th place, 15 lakhs was there to give out.
Yeah, I mean that's a great thing. These guys are doing
corporate,
the HCL in particular. They've been kind of doing it for a while, and they collaborated with CFI now, and which is a great thing.
They added another race this year, Hyderabad.
Wow.
So there's going to be a 24.
So they have one in Chennai,
Noida.
one in Delhi.
So Noida one's done. Then there's Chennai and Hyderabad.
Wow. Yeah. Hyderabad. Nice.
I think it's in December, if I'm not mistaken. So October will be Chennai and December will be Hyderabad.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So big prize money in the line. Everybody's going to turn up. And that's something like when you go in with no expectations or like not wanting to achieve something and just wanting to race, I feel like you're able to race more. I was just today I had this conversation with Priya. Just when you go in with no expectations, I'm just able to race more free. Every time I've made a mistake or something's gone wrong is when I put too much pressure on myself to achieve something, being like, oh, I've trained so hard, numbers are looking good. She hates it when I talk about numbers, like, shut up. Just don't say your numbers. Even if they're good, just shut up, because every time you say your numbers or you talk about your numbers, something happens. So just keep quiet, just go and ride. And I did a 2-week OT block before then. So fitness was good, numbers were really good, but I didn't have any expectation because I was like, I'm on subpar equipment. So like, what am I going to do? It's Chennai flat. Like aero is everything in Chennai. But yeah, it was a good race. I felt confident and made the move at the right time. And then just didn't look back and was able to win it. And it's a great feeling, like wearing the Tamil Nadu jersey, crossing the line solo in Chennai with like all the officials watching. Like, it's a very good feeling, and it was like at that point my biggest win. And sort of like exactly 1 year or just about 1 year since the National Games Gujarat medal, and like nothing had happened in that 1 year. So a lot of relief, a lot of, I don't know, it was quite an emotional feeling, because I know the capability of the guys who finished behind me. Like, they're all very accomplished cyclists in themselves. So to be able to outride them and beat them, it felt very good. And then the respect between us is mutual, because I met these guys first in the camp and then kept communication with them since, and they were happy for me, even though I beat them. So like, it's a genuinely good feeling, and that's what I just love about the competitive part of this sport. It's like you could race against them, shout at them in the race, but then once the race is done, all that's done. You're now friends again, you're buddies, and you talk. So it was great to get that win done. And then after that, we had our state championships, and the ball was rolling with races. Yeah, but that's when I figured out I wouldn't be able to take part in national games. Yeah, the list came out, and my name wasn't on there. It basically was the qualified riders for national games, which they usually take the top 15 from the most recent nationals in any event. So TTT, road race, and individual time trial. My name was in none of them because I didn't do any races.
Yeah, right? Because you crashed just 2 days before and decided to withdraw.
Yeah.
And that meant you were not in top 10 or...
No, I wasn't even on the entry.
Right.
So then I had to make a bunch of phone calls, meet a bunch of officials to like see. I tried my best because the form's there. Why should I not race if there's any chance? Because I am a medalist from the previous edition of the National Games, so maybe that could have a sway in it. I mean, I was on call with like officials for hours, went and saw like government officials to see if there was any way like they could, from that end, it could be done. Because I would be representing Tamil Nadu, my state, so I went and saw them. But there are some rules that are apparently protocol where you are required to take part and there's no exceptions. So unfortunately didn't get to race. A lot of good form went to waste there. But it is what it is. So.
And although that was a bit of a disappointment, what was like, the next big thing you ended up? There was the nationals that was coming up. Right?
Yeah, nationals was coming up. But in between that, there's always like racing and events. Just before that, there was what else had happened? Oh yeah, Srinath had gone to the World Championships and come back.
Right.
So it was not just like it was nice to see that other people also were achieving like good results. And then Srinath at the National Games won 2 silvers,
right?
Which was like a big achievement, and like it's so great to see him having success now. Like,
yeah. So I mean, fortunately, I managed to get him on the podcast right after that. National Games medals.
Yeah.
Which was a great thing.
He's a busy man. He's always moving around.
Yeah. Always, one city or the other.
No, but even though I didn't get to race and I felt horrible about it, it's like I was just following the race, following how he was doing. And I wish I could have gone to at least support, but I think it would have been a bad idea to do that. So I'm glad I didn't go there to support, because going there and then realizing, oh great, you're not racing, that would have been even worse. But yeah, so moved on a little. Yeah, just first I think I was like sulking for a week and a half or 2 weeks, maybe max 2 weeks. After that, I don't sulk anymore. Right. And then I moved on and thought, Nationals is coming. It's going to be in North Karnataka. So similar conditions to Bangalore, similar weather to Bangalore. Everything is very similar to Bangalore. So let's get some good training in. And then, this one happened before that, Nandi Epic. The race that started it for me. Then being able to win it. That was like full circle. I enjoyed that moment, because I first did it in 2020, November, as an amateur. And then not knowing what racing was, first race. That was my first race ever. So then to win it in the elite, it was quite a nice feeling. And then after that, what happened? TFN. So as a result, I think Chinmay and I were tied for points in the BBCH calendar. So I think I had to win and he had to finish below 5th, which happened. And then by account of the ITT result, which happened in March, which I won, I had won the championship. So then I think that year the TFN was offering an entry for the winners of the BBCH championship. So I wasn't expecting to, because Chinmay is a very strong rider on himself, and he unfortunately had a bad day that day. So I ended up winning the championship and getting that entry to TFN. So it was a good, very, very fun experience. Like I don't know what I was expecting, but I really enjoyed the social part of TFN.
Right.
Maybe I was going into it a little more competitive and targeting CSs and all, but like what I came back enjoying was meeting the new people and meeting people that I wouldn't normally have otherwise met or conversed with, and getting to know people, getting closer to other people. So it was a very nice experience for anybody.
Before we get, and there is a lot to talk about TFN. Before we get there, let us talk about the Nandi race for
Nandi Epic.
Nandi Epic, because that was your first race.
Yes.
And and the kind of started, and it's not like much time has passed between then and
I'm an uncle now. Time has definitely passed.
Like what, 2 years or 3 years?
2020, 2023, 3 years. 3 years.
And within that, you had national games medals, went to Asian Games, although did not actually race, but have gone through a bunch of stuff. What was what were different from your, say, first Nandi race to the race that you won? What were the kind of it would be a lot of learnings. But what were the primary things that you saw as critical for you to take the top step in elite? Because Nandi Epic is always a prestigious thing for
sure. Good, very, very, very fun race. In 2020 Nandi Epic, I was like nobody. Like I would lived in Bangalore for 3 years prior to that, but I wasn't cycling, so I didn't know anyone in the Bangalore community. Nobody knew who I was, and I did the amateur. And then they just sort of knew me as, this guy who's come from Ooty, which I technically did because I was 9 months in Ooty during lockdown. But I was from Bangalore. No? I mean, I am a Ooty boy, but I've always been in Bangalore for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
But then after Nandi Epic, Leander inaugurated me into the Bangalore cycling community. And then after that, just getting to know the culture of cycling. Like, I didn't know anything about cycling because in Ooty, we rode on our own. There was no community, and there was a community aspect to it, but there wasn't like group rides, like, organized group rides, meeting, stopping for a coffee spot, taking the traditional pictures, the poses, and so all of that, in 2021, I spent a lot of time riding with the community because I wasn't too much into competing, or I didn't really think much about competing until like 21 March when I got first selected for nationals. Then I thought, okay, I'll give this a go. Then when I decided to actually compete or like take it seriously was 21 November when I placed top 10. So after that, then switching from the social part of cycling, which was predominant, then to like the training, and then obviously adding in social here and there. So like those were like big changes in why I was cycling or why I was riding my bike every day. But apart from that, like as you achieve more wins and so on, like, you earn this level of respect on the bike. People will not allow you to just ride off the front at the base of Nandi, which is what I did in 2020. Just sort of
marked man.
Just sort of rode away. Yeah. And like people looking to you to control the race and to make moves and like just watching for you to do something. It's nice. It's a very like, it makes you feel really good. Like, okay, people actually respect me riding, but it's also annoying at the same time because you just can't race. Frustrating.
You can ask Enjoy about
he'll have more experience than anybody. Yeah, but it's like you make a move, you see someone on your wheel, you flick them through, they nod their head. It's like, no, here we go again. But that's the beauty of it though. Like, I wouldn't trade it for anything else. So then with this Nandi Epic, it was a bunch of strong riders had come. Jay Dogra from Chandigarh, Chinmay was there. All light boys, climbing boys, versus me being 70 odd kilos. I was like, okay, great. Now, how to play this? Because normally Nandi Epic, I think, starts from Upcha. We go out on the Bangalore highway, come back, then climb. And a move can be made on that stretch of the road. There's some nice long climbs there. But this time we did on SDRR, the 30-kilometer loops.
Correct.
And I've tried multiple times. It's impossible to break away on this road.
Yeah.
It's, the draft advantage, the road is butter smooth. So you sit in the draft, you're saving a lot of watts. So it's very, very hard to make a move here, and it has to be done like all in, decisive, and there has to be somebody who misses the plot for you to get away. So then it ended up being a very big bunch that rolled into the base of Nandi. And so again, another contrast from 2020 to 2023. I had teammates now. So I told John, I need you to do one thing for me. Send the first bit of the climb as hard as you can, because nobody's going to let John go right away. John's a pretty accomplished rider himself, who went and won almost every other race in 2023. How many races did he take part in? My goodness, traveled everywhere and took part in races. So that's the great part. Like, nobody's going to let him go. So I can play off of that. So he led the first, I think, 2 and a bit kilometers of climb, hard pace, dropped quite a few riders. So then we had a good selection, about 7 or 8 riders who I can manage this. And at that point I wasn't thinking about, okay, Chinmay has to finish below 5th or 6th. I figured, the only thought that came to my mind is, as long as I knew what my numbers were and I could attack at this point and possibly get away, but then the likeliness of Chinmay being able to follow or like being able to come in a place higher than 5th was very high. So as long as you kept a bunch of strong riders together, that was the only thought I had. Then after that, Jay set the climb at a good pace, and I just sat in, saved as much energy as I could. And I knew like the actual part to only attack is with 2 or 3 corners to go.
Right.
And that's when you sort of see people 15 minutes into the effort, 16 minutes, you start cramping. If you haven't kept up on your fueling for the last 100 kilometers, you're going to start suffering now in these last 7. So people cramped, people were losing concentration. Yeah, unfortunately, Jay clipped his pedal on a curve trying to accelerate into it. And he was chasing me, I think. Yeah, so I think with 2 corners to go, I decided to launch one big decisive attack. Because I looked at the faces of everybody and was like, this is the moment to attack. And it would have been nice to win by minutes, but win by 1 second or a minute is a win. So I'm happy. But it was good because there was, I think, 4 other good guys, good climbers there. There was Mihir, light, strong boy. Then Adi. Then Derwin from Goa. He came second, which was a very good result for him. And then I can't remember who came 4th or 5th, but Chinmay had finished exactly a spot after where, it would have made me win. So that plus the championship, it was a good feeling. And
talking of the championships, just to give a context to BBCH, I mean the listeners, BBCH has this thing going about they have an alternate a road race every alternate month and an MTB every alternate month. And for the road part of it, the races starting from first race to the last race, the every race will have a points. Depending on subject to the weightage of those points are subject to how many people took part of it.
Correct.
Part in it, and then obviously position of the riders and all that. So and you end up tallying all the points over a season, and the rider with the more number of points wins the championships.
Correct.
And the great thing about that, winning that championship, is you get to, at least till last year, you have a very enticing prize, which is TFN. Spot in TFN. You get to ride free.
I think TFN sponsors the entry for the championship winners to ride TFN, and
both at elite and women's race, I guess. So that's what you won.
Yes, that's what I won. And
you
came full circle, right? Started cycling in Ooty, then I win an opportunity to go back home and cycle, but this time with a bunch of people. It was a nice feeling.
Let's talk about TFN now.
So I knew there was obviously the GC, the climbing and all of that. I was very in my mind, looked at I planned everything. I brought my training peaks. I put in the segments that I'm targeting. I told my coach, these are the segments, day 1, day 2, day 3. This is most likely the segment. This is the route. How should I pace it? This, that, and the other. Big conversation. Then went into TFN and I was like, okay, this is 3 weeks before nationals. I need to make a training block out of this. I can't just ride casually. At the same time, I can't do something stupid and get myself injured now. So luckily for me, Ritvik, our teammate and also very, very good rider in himself, had come from Switzerland. Dhananjay, So he had come from Switzerland and he was taking part. So I had good company with him for most of the riding. And I was able to, I just liked, riding with somebody of similar capabilities so I can push myself at the same time, have company, through most of it. So, but then off the bike, there's very, very good social aspects of TFN. You had your the group physio, you had your meals together. Then the Wayanad hotel was great. A brilliant place to the pool and socializing there. Then socializing in Ooty at Highlands, going out to different restaurants and eating and, experiencing just meeting and experiencing people from the cycling community, but not in Lycra. It's a different feeling, sitting down, having drinks with them, talking non-cycling things. So that's the beauty of TFN. During the day you ride, and then in the evenings
there is that beautiful riding, great terrains and all that. But it's the people that make the TFN to ride, I think. And that's what kind of keeps riders like me to keep going back
for sure
again. So you came out of TFN right? And you won that, obviously.
Yeah. Obviously, nothing obvious about it. It was fun, but no, I mean, not too many people to be competitive with, but it is,
yeah. And you went into end of TFN. There are like 2 weeks to nationals.
Correct. Exactly 2 weeks to nationals.
So how was it? How was it at the nationals?
Yeah.
Did you kind of manage to use the block of TFN as optimally as you wanted, or how did the whole?
So I mean, not as optimally as I wanted. Unfortunately, a few key days, got disrupted because of permissions and whatnot. So, like the training load that I was expecting was a little lower. So then I had to come back after TFN to Bangalore, and my coach was like, you lost a little bit of fitness there, so let's kill you. So I had 1 week. I think I rode. 7 days. It was 1,800 TSS or something. It was 4.5 hours every day.
Damn.
It was SST and endurance, and it was SST and tempo. It was just brutal. I think in that week I lost around 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos just by the amount I was riding, but it really bumped up and gave that little extra push, like really to overload, and then a week of taper. And then I was ready for nationals. Yeah. And again, being in South India, the nationals were like, we're driving there. Makes life easier, don't have to pack bikes. And my car is brilliant, my kidnap van that they so affectionately call my dad's Eco. So what we do is we remove the middle seat, which is what we did for Nasik as well. We remove the middle seat, and then you can put 7 bikes in.
Damn.
Without touching the base bar, the saddle, nothing. All you have to do is remove the pedals, 7 bikes in, and then drive. So Shaurya and I did that to go to Nasik. We stopped in somewhere in Maharashtra. I forgot the name of the place, but we stopped midway and then continued. So this time what we did was we hired a driver, and then Priya, Nandini and I went in her car, and we turned up to Bijapur, and the car turned up with the bikes. So sorted. Now we have a car there, 2 cars there, bikes are there, don't have to disassemble anything, don't have to worry about excess baggage, don't have to worry about handling, don't have to worry about whether it'll arrive or not.
Right.
Bikes are there. So that was sorted for us. Then we got the CBR boys to be our scouts because they had their 150 different selection trials. They were essentially living in Bijapur. So I called Saurabh and I told him, bro, whatever you're booking, just tell me, I'll book the same thing. And he booked one place and then he changed it and he called me. I said, I don't care. Tell me where you're going to be staying. We'll book the same thing because I'm not about to go and waste energy trying to figure out a place to stay. So they were really helpful in that. So we all stayed in the same hotel together. Sort of the first floor was just like dominated by people wearing tight clothes. Other people who were like, we made a nuisance of ourselves.
Right.
But it was good fun, to get to know those guys also. Other, fellow cyclists from Bangalore who you would not normally, live with for a week essentially. Yeah. But they sleep at weird times. But good. Yeah. It was very helpful of them to suggest the hotel, and we went there. Same events in Target. ITT, mixed relay TTT, and the road race. ITT, I was prepared. Again, numbers were exceptional, like very, very good. And I had everything was sorted. I got everything done, and then warmed up. Took my bike off the rollers, was going to the start line for the bike check. On this time, they did the bike check perfectly. I loved it. I loved the bike check. They had the jig, and then they were sending people back to get their skis down. And I was like, yes, this is proper. No more skis that come here.
Yeah.
So I did a bike check just to make sure everything was in right before I did my warm up. Then after the warm up, I gave the bike again for bike check, and one of our Tamil Nadu officials was there. He helped me, and then he took the bike off the jig. And people have this habit of just checking the tire pressure always. So he checked the front wheel, was fine. Checked the rear wheel, and he looked at me. He just stared at me. He's like, Tambi kaatilla, which in English means
no air.
Bro, there's no air. I was like, rubbish, because they like to run their PSI at like 180. I was like, no, I'm running at 80. It's a tubeless tire. Then I gave, you could press no air. absolutely no air.
Damn.
I just did the warm up on the wheel. Like, I had rollers. I borrowed a set of feedback rollers. Like, that definitely is a puncture. Because I'd filled the air and then I did the warm up and now there's no air. So I'm panicking. They're calling people to line up. I'm like, I think 4th last to go or something. So like they're sending riders as I'm looking right now. My first thought is, I want a disc wheel. Okay. So Nandini's standing next to me with her wheels as spare wheels, which she was going to hold and follow on the moto. I know there's a wheel there, but that's not a disc wheel. Now in my head, I'm like, I know the math for a disc wheel versus a normal wheel because the conditions are very similar to Bangalore.
Right.
Rolling, the winds are similar to Bangalore. So I know what difference a disc wheel makes in Bangalore. So I did the math and I know the difference of a disc wheel there.
What would be the difference?
Okay, so I'd say, I mean, you can speak in terms of power and speed, but at the power I was looking to put out 320, it's 5 to 10 watts, which is a minute.
Wow.
So it depends again. Yeah, a lot of other things go, but it's a minute. So I'm like, I need a disc wheel. Like for the crosswinds and the headwinds coming back, yeah, you definitely need a disc wheel for that. I was looking, I was just panicking. I was like, get me a disc wheel. I was holding out hope till like there was 2 riders in front of me who was Srinath. Srinath was 2 riders in front of me. And then I think they had changed it from... So after a certain point, they made it from a minute intervals to 2 minute intervals between sending riders, or from 30 seconds to a minute. I can't remember exactly. So I had a little bit of time. And then when I realized I'm not going to get a disc wheel, like in that meantime, I had sent Shaurya to the car to get the pump and to see if it would seal, the hole would seal because it was tubeless. It wasn't sealing for some reason. So then on the start line, 2 riders in front of me, I like just looked at Nandini. I said, give me that wheel. And I put the wheel on, and in that moment I knew there's no way I'm winning this, like, because I went in like I want to win this, and that moment I knew I can't win this. There's no possibility of me winning this, and it's just again like a year's worth of work. Like this was like going to be my redemption ride. I'm going to ride well. Like I said, I put so much pressure on myself.
Right.
And then for it to all just in one small piece of glass change that entire narrative. So yeah, I knew there's no way I was going to win it. So at this point, it was like scavenge as much as possible. So I'm standing on the start line about to go, and my brain is doing the math calculations in terms of how many more watts extra do I have to put to make up for the lack of the wheel. So it's 10 watts. So stupid me rode the first 10 minutes at 340 watts. So, and
oh my god!
Look at WKO5 training impact graph. It's like first 10 minutes disappeared.
Oh, that's going again.
That is the cardinal sin of time trialing. Never start out too hot.
Yeah,
it was like just adrenaline, panic, like a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
I didn't realize because I didn't keep power on my screen. The new Wahoos, even the old Wahoos have those lights. So what I did is I programmed the lights to be certain zones. So so basically on your phone, you have the zones, which you would normally put as your recovery, endurance, SST, tempo.
It must have been all red.
So what I had done was I had made the first light as 250 to 280. Second light, which is blue, 280 to 300. Third light, 300 to 320. Fourth, 320 to 330. Fifth, 350 and above. Because I shouldn't be in 350 and above. I was looking at yellow and red the entire first. It was like, I don't know. I was like, I knew I had to be in green for the first, because that's 300 and 320. I have to be within that and not go over that for at least the first lap. I was way over that. No. I didn't. Then after the first lap, I switched to a screen which had my power numbers on it. And then I looked at the average power. I was like, shit, okay, now I'm going to pay for this. And then so it's like 4 legs. I break it into quarters. So out, back. So the third one, so the second time out was horrible. Like 260, 270 watts or something. Yeah. Atrocious, horrible numbers.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are, whatever, you are going to pay for.
Yeah. Because if you look at the lap splits, I was leading after the first lap by 15 seconds.
Obviously.
So I was leading. I mean, I did the calculations afterwards.
Unfortunately,
with Strava, first lap doesn't count. First lap doesn't count, right? End of the race counts. So that was a stupid thing I paid. I think I was a minute and a half slower on my second lap than my first. So I lost all the time there. Just by, if I had gone 10 watts, 5 watts, or even like 10, just stayed within it, maybe I would have pushed more towards the end. Because then obviously the last leg, adrenaline again kicks in and you're able to push much more. Your suffer threshold just increases. So I was able to scavenge quite a bit back. So I lost a minute and a half on that leg alone. So that, how many kilometers was it? 8 or 9 kilometers? I lost a minute and a half there. No, 10 kilometers, exactly 10. In that 10 kilometers, I lost a minute and a half. So then coming back, the final leg, I was able to gain back around 30 seconds. So then, by first time ever, I finished a race and I just cried. I just was bawling my eyes out. Because even then, I fully processed what it meant. Like, it's a year's worth of work, which is potentially possibly lost. I've just overcooked it. I don't know where I'm going to place. I don't know what my timing is. I didn't look at speed, which I should have looked at. Maybe then I would have felt a little better. Speed was 46 kilometers enough for the entire effort. So I was like, okay. Then afterwards, once I calmed down, I looked at speed. Then, this is where it's like comes in handy having allies in other teams. So the Air Force boys who weren't racing were doing the calculations. Unfortunately, Manjeet had the road surface was horrible. There was a massive pothole in the middle of the road which wiped out Manjeet, broke Chinmay's bike.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like in no marking, nothing to show. So you're going at 50, 60 kilometers an hour. You're not going to see, because all it just looks like is a weird shadow. And then when you're right next to it, you see that it's actually a hole. So Manjeet went in that and he wiped out. Chinmay went in that and his aero bars came loose. So I remember hitting it twice and my hands flying off the bars. So like both times I hit it because it's in the middle of the road and you're not allowed to go right because that's the oncoming lane. You'll get a time penalty if you go there. You can't go left because it's gravel. Sort of have to hit the middle of it and you don't really remember exactly where it is. So that was quite dangerous. But Manjeet had wiped out. So then he had come back and then he was doing timings and then I get a call from him. After 10 minutes after everyone's finished, and he's like, "You're third." I said, "Don't lie to me." He's like, "No, you're third. I did the timings. You're third." I said, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yes, I'm not telling you. Jhoot nahi bol raha hu, you're third." And then I started crying again because that was like sense of relief. It was just like this from thinking I've screwed up. There's nothing I can do now. My result is gone. Not another opportunity for a medal gone. And then when he called me and said I was third, again not confirmed, but I usually trust their timings because they do it really well. It's like that relief. And then I think I cried for another 5 minutes. I needed to get it out and. It went from being like I put this on my Instagram and Strava. It was like I was gutted, but I also was very grateful because after me it was like seconds. It was like third, then 10 seconds, 12 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Because it could have gone anywhere. I was very, very fortunate to come away with a medal from that, and
So I mean, from almost overcooking it and completely.
If I had not taken that third leg slow, if I had decided to ride at threshold, I would have bonked and DNF'd. There was a point where during that leg, I wasn't able to get the power down, and Nandini was following behind on the scooter, and I usually don't like people shouting at me when I'm riding. I like to be in my zone, shutting out everything, but I didn't wear a visor this time, so I could hear everything. And she told me, I'll only follow you if you don't shout at me if I say anything, because Shaurya once followed me and I told him to shut up. So she's like, I will shout at you, but you can't argue with me while you're riding. So I was like, yes, fine. So there was a point where I think she was able to tell that I was slowing down, and in my head I was like, why am I doing this? I'm not going to win. I'm not going to get a medal. I'm slow. I'm a minute slower than everybody else is going to be, like just because I don't have a disc wheel. And that mindset was just seeping in and slowly starting to take over. And everybody who time trials has had that moment where they're like, there's an excuse to give up. Everybody who has time trials has always had
Tell me about it.
That moment comes where you're like, what's the excuse? Puncture? Cramp? What is it? And this one was, I had a very valid excuse.
I mean, everything looks valid. But you have to it is very hard.
Finding that why.
Right.
Yeah.
It is very hard in that moment to not,
Give up.
not blow up everything
Correct.
that is going wrong, and not take that as the excuse.
Correct.
It is very, very difficult.
Exactly. Because you're on the limit. Fight and flight is kicking in.
Right.
Your body is telling you, stop this nonsense. Please run away from this. Stop this. And you're going against every single instinct. Your heart rate is through the roof. Your muscles are dying. You're cramping. You're running out of salt, running out of energy. There's every single reason to give up. And then staying and sticking in and pushing through. Like, if not for Nandini behind shouting at me, I don't think I would have continued the effort.
Because so when you are in a situation like that, you're the disc wheel flattened. And there is not, I mean, you tried whatever you could to get a spare one. It did not happen. But when you are in the situation, if you let that negative, you actually went in actually giving up.
Correct.
But you still managed to, kind of the calculation that you went in, I had to compensate for it, ended up being actually a little made of a miscalculation.
Too ambitious.
All these learnings right will definitely come in handy as you for the next race, because you knew that you went in with a negative mentality. You screwed up your race pacing, but still ended up with a chance and in the medals. What did that teach you, right? It taught you so much about whatever it is, right? You go with whatever you got right now. Doesn't matter.
Your repost of my post, you posted saying that I can't remember, I'll be paraphrasing a little bit, but you said bad things happen, or unfortunate scenarios happening, but dealing with them is what champs are made of. And I really like that hit home. And it's like, I was able to push through that and somehow
exactly. If if everything was smooth sailing, right? Nothing.
Value, I don't think I would have valued a bronze as much. Like, say for example, if everything went to plan, I would have been very disappointed with a bronze given what I knew I was capable of. But I was like over the moon because I thought, I'm not going to place, right? So then the value, really understand the value of something when you're almost about to lose it or you've lost it essentially. That's when it becomes the most meaningful. So,
all this is really important to understand, that nothing could go according to plan.
Correct.
But you should be able to salvage whatever you can.
Correct. There's a thing called Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. And it was just playing out in front of me. In fact, I had the opportunity to take my spare wheels could have been a disc wheel, a spare disc wheel, and another rim wheel. But I was thinking, what's the chance of a puncture? And then to carry a disc wheel as spare is going to be difficult because you normally loop it through a bungee cord and can hold it over on the motorcycle on either side. But with a disc wheel, you can't do that. How are you holding a disc wheel as a spare? So I was like, no, we'll just take normal carbon wheels. So stupid me. And the people... Priya, Hemmings, everybody made it known to me that was my stupidity and my own doing, because the wheel was there. It was in the hotel.
Right.
I could have put it in the car, even if I didn't want to have it as my spare wheel. I could have put it in the car. I didn't put it in the car. And I paid a price for that.
Learnings.
Yeah, but came away from that, and then Priya got a top 10 at Nats. Oh, man, that's this unbelievable result.
Yeah.
Well, it was like overall a successful trip for us compared to the year before, where it was a disaster. So, a lot of good memories made there. And came back from that. What happened immediately after Nationals? Oh, right, my grandma fell very, very ill. So my parents didn't tell me because I was racing and obviously to not let that affect me. But she was in the ICU after that. So then unfortunately she passed just after my nationals. But I got to see her, so that was a good thing. I'd come back. I think I landed back. We arrived back in Bangalore, and then my parents had told me I took the same day or the next day, took a flight out to Chennai, and I got to see her. But then after that, it was just sort of, I took a break for the first time in a long time. And then my body was like, you need a break. So 1 week turned into a month. Wow. I mean, I would still ride. I'd just hop on the trainer and watch a movie or watch something for an hour. But I wasn't training. I wasn't doing any intervals, just maintaining fitness.
Right.
Because I was in Thekkady with my parents. And riding there is quite difficult because the roads aren't the greatest and the traffic. And during tourist season, it's horrendous. So I just sit on the trainer for a bit. Then... what happened over that time then out of nowhere, let's say what's today, exactly 20 days ago, we got a notification about Asian selection trials. And I was, like I said, I keep a base level of fitness. I don't let my training peaks go below a certain point, but I knew I was not up to where I should be. And then I had a bunch of the lingering injuries which were getting dealt with finally, because finally went and saw the right people to, otherwise I just ignore and I'm like, I'll do my own research and figure it out. No, I don't know everything. That is it's a good realization. And there
what are these injuries?
So in one of the crashes, which I think was probably the one in Nasik, I had torn the labrum in my right hip. So what that had done is now caused the muscles in that area to all seize essentially and not want to work. And so when cycling, I was sitting at a weird angle on the bike, and I thought it was just a leg length discrepancy compensation. So my cleats were all adjusted accordingly. But then because of how I was sitting, I was overloading my left knee. To the point where I had started to wear through the cartilage in the left knee, which is not good. So I got it addressed quickly, and then at the right point, so I went through what was required to make it not get any worse. So the doctors I saw very helpful in that, especially one in Ooty, who I have been avoiding seeing for a long time because I know that she will give me a reality check, and I got one. So, but the work that was given, I was sticking to it religiously, doing that. But then my cycling fitness and my weight was a little not up to where it should be. But I can lose weight very quickly, but I gain that back as quickly because when I don't have a target, I sort of let myself go a little bit in terms of what I eat, and I'm not as strict with myself, because if you're strict all the time, you're just gonna lose your mind. So I allow myself a little bit of freedom, especially with my friends, when I see my friends, my non-cyclist friends. So I put on a few extra kilos, so I had to like really work hard. I had called my coach and said, this is happening. And he's like, cutting a little late, aren't you? So, but we were able to get into decent fitness. But I went in with no expectations. I was like, I'm around 20% off where I should be. Well, not 20 is a bit much. 10% off in terms of fitness where I would ideally want to be. But it is what it is. Like, this is like, I was on the fence whether I should go or not go to the selections, but then in my head I was like, last year I was ready. And there wasn't a selection trials. Like, I don't know when the next time there's going to be. I'm now 25. So every year I don't like, I do want to achieve something at Asians. That's my goal. So every year that I don't get to race, it is a year that's gone. That's a year of training. That's a year of that I'm not going to get back. So I spoke to my parents and I was like, I'll just give it a try. What's there to lose? What's the worst I'll come? I will spend a little bit of money to get there, but why not?
You're going to miss 100% of shots that you don't take.
Michael Jordan. Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, anybody who spoke to me before that knew exactly how underconfident I was. Right. It's just like, no, it's not going to happen. It is. I know what the numbers are at the moment. Not ideal. But little did anyone know that Gohana would slap us all in the face. What heat! I've never experienced weather like that, let alone have to give an all-out effort in weather like that. If you like, there's there was the thing about Tom Pidcock and how he acclimatized for the Tokyo Olympics. Like he built his own sauna in his house and would ride in the sauna. Like you have to do it, and there's like a strategy to doing it.
Right.
Like 1 month or 2 months in advance, you start loading in time. So you do 15 minutes of threshold work in a whole week, then you load it to half an hour, then a 1 hour, 2 hour, till eventually you are acclimatized. You can't just go in and decide to do.
Yeah.
This was like going in with zero acclimatization.
Yeah.
Like I thought Bangalore was hot. Whoa, Bangalore is cool and pleasant and calm. I will never complain about Bangalore temperature ever again. And if anyone catches me complaining, just tell me Gohana. And I'll be like, yes, no, Bangalore's perfect. Bangalore's beautiful. Bangalore's lovely. 40. My Wahoo read 45 degrees on the start line.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because we stood there for about a minute and that Wahoo had enough time to cook. 45 degrees. I can cook an omelette on that. But yeah, that was the heat that was being felt, but then the heat that was radiating off the road, my face was burning from that. I didn't wear a visor again because I like being able to feel the elements. My face was burning from just the heat radiating off the road, and I
45, 50, probably feeling like 50. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, conservative, Joel. Don't think you're some great person. Don't try and put 340 watts. I was like, I'll be conservative, 280, 290. Be realistic as to what your fitness is right now and in the elements and everything. Best decision I've ever made in my life. I was like, technically, yes, I can put out 310, but I was like, be conservative. Because what had happened was the day I arrived there, while I was driving, I rented a Zoom car and was driving from Delhi there. Suddenly, I got a ping on my phone. Thundering and lightning. Expect hailstorms, thunderstorms in the next 15 minutes. I look up, black sky. Just like, I can see the rain and I'm about to drive through it. And the windshield just went white. And it was crazy conditions, like wind. There were people on motorcycles that were getting like blown off. They had to stop. Trucks, the canopies over the trucks were flying off. Like these thatched roofs, houses with like tarp on them, those were flying off. Some trees had fallen. And it was like, what are these conditions? Then the morning of the ITT, there was another one of these, but it said in the next 24 hours. So I was like, okay, maybe not. Yeah. But then also that area is known for dust storms, sandstorms, like weird weather conditions I've never experienced. So we started, my name was towards the end. So people who started ahead, like basically had 30 minutes of different weather to what I faced or what anybody of us towards the end faced.
Right.
So 30 minutes essentially is one lap. You get to finish one lap. So the weather was still. I went and took the first U-turn. I was like, oh, seemed like a bit of a headwind, but it's okay. So went, took the next U-turn. Tailwind was cruising at nice 50, 55 at like 230, 240 watts. Nothing great. It's like, yeah, this is a tailwind, must be a headwind on the way back. I took the turn. The bike didn't move. It was like, I cannot express how horrible the winds were. Whatever I've ever felt in Bangalore, double it.
Yeah.
The bike was refusing to move. It was so hot. And usually when you get winds like that, you think, okay, it'll cool you down. Right? There's no lakes around for it to be cool air. It was hot air. It was just blowing in my face. And something I learned from 2021 is never keep heart rate on my screen. Ever. Thank God it wasn't on the screen.
Yeah.
Because the power numbers were not great. Okay, they were horrendous. In fact, the worst power numbers I've ever put out for a time trial. Ever. So I was just looking at it and I was like, no, this is horrible. But then I switched screens after I finished. When I uploaded, I checked Training Peaks. Second best heart rate for 5 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Conditions.
Second best heart rate ever. First best highest was in 2022 when I did a race when I was sick, like completely sick. This was in Kerala, 36, 37 degrees with humidity. I did that to lead out Srinath to the base and then he rode away. But that I held, I think 1 hour I held 199 BPM. This was 40 minutes, 198. So same thing essentially. Yeah.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, I really did give it everything. And now it is what it is. Results are what it was. But I think everyone suffered just as much as I did, because yeah, then Manjeet, as usual, comes. He's like, I came out of the car. I threw up a couple of times, and I came, like, I sat in the car just to cool down. Then he came, and then he's like, हाँ लग रहा है मैं हूँ 5th, दिनेश आया 2nd, और ये सूर्या ने बहुत अच्छा से किया. He did very well. He came 3rd.
Yeah.
I'm like, me? हाँ आप हो 1st. I was like, really? He's like, नहीं, हाँ सच में बोल रहा? Yes, really. I was like, झूठ मत बोलो. He's like, why would I lie, man? You're 1st. Then I was like, this is not possible. This is not true. Because funnily enough, like, Naveen started behind me. I think 2 or 3 riders behind me. And I was looking at my power and I was like, he's going to overtake me any point now.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like...
The usual. Yeah.
And then he didn't. And then I was like, okay, interesting. Then I finished and I didn't pay much attention after. I almost passed out. At a point, like, when I was riding, I tried to spit and then the spit went all over my face. So then I moved my hand to wipe and then there was blood on my hand when my nose was bleeding.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was the heat. Like,
Right.
that Strava was lying about the heat. Strava said 37 degrees. Which it was not. It was like 42, 43 real feel. But absolutely horrendous. Like, I think a couple of people on the first lap itself just got off the bike. It was too much for them to deal with. And people who were able to mentally push, I think, were able to, get out good, well, get a result essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if there is always this thing when you are planning your effort, right? You always have to take the conditions into consideration. There was this video that I was looking at hot route, one of the retired pros who was doing hot route.
Yeah.
So when he was pacing, he was the climbs, right?
Yeah.
So there will be timed this thing. When he was pacing the climbs, he would always take the altitude into consideration.
Correct.
And what was so the sea level effort? If sea level effort was this, the altitude effort needs to be reduced by 10-15% or like that, depending on how high
you're climbing. Correct.
As you are.
Yeah.
And that equally applies to heat also, right? You will not be able to perform the same whatever 100% of your FTP and stuff like that. You have to take those into consideration, otherwise you will end up overcooking.
But see, luckily for me being underconfident and then pacing according to that really helped pacing according to the conditions, because I might think horrendous power numbers. It's just like a zone 3 ride for me. But then I think in those conditions, I was always capable. Like you said, like what you're going back to the altitude. When I go up to Ooty, I already know what the calculation is. Right. I know that, okay, if I'm putting out 320 in Bangalore, 290 in Ooty is the same.
Correct.
It's exactly the same. So the first week, I shouldn't even be looking at anything past 280, 285 when I'm in Ooty, because I'm getting the same training load as putting out 320 in Bangalore. So that calculation I made, but not for the heat. Who is expecting 45 degrees, man? Like, they said it was hot, okay? People warned me, Haryana's hot. I was like, can't be that hot. Bangalore's 38 degrees right now. What do you mean? Bangalore's hotter than Chennai. What do you mean it's so hot? Oh, Bangalore's cold. Bangalore's lovely.
We must be shivering. But I mean, to be honest, over the last 14 years of being in Bangalore, I haven't seen a summer like this in Bangalore.
Last year was not this bad at all.
No, never. And over the years, I mean, when I came to Bangalore initially, I think the summer lasted like 2 weeks or something.
Oh, wow. Right? What pleasant weather.
And now it's like
going on forever.
But it's like the temperatures are over the roof. But anyway, I think everyone suffered there in the heat.
Everyone did,
You could see at the speeds everyone were putting, and
the speeds, I think less than the speeds, it was more about just looking at people riding. Like, as people are going past, I have a tendency to just see what their body language looks like. And nobody looked like in the zone.
Right.
Everyone was just hanging on for dear life, because the way the course was, it was like rolling, but it wasn't long enough climbs or long enough descents for you to even gain any momentum. And on the way out, the winds were just, I don't understand which direction it was coming from. I just know it was making me slow. So my thought at that point is, if I'm not able to get out power, the only other thing I can do is get my head down and keep it down. And that's staying as aero as possible, shrugging my shoulders, like, was absolutely tight right now. I had 2 days on the TT bike before the selections. So I couldn't adapt anything. So I was just in agony. But I knew the benefit of me trying to force out, because with crosswinds and constantly changing winds, you have a tendency to sit more upright in order to get stability of the bike. Because when you're on the skis, the moment you raise your head, you're able to sort of maneuver your shoulders a little more to adjust for, the winds. But when you're down there, you can't really do that much. Like any small twitch is a big movement, right? So a lot of inexperienced riders tend to sit more upright in when winds come in, and you can technically put out more power then, but what happens is that power that you put out is completely cancelled out by you sitting upright, because the winds acting on you are now just increased, maybe even doubled. You never know how high up you sit. So I was like, okay, fine, if I'm only putting out 260, 270 here, at least if I keep my head down, I can still maybe hold 36 kilometers an hour. The difference between keeping your head up and down when those winds was like 33, 36 kilometers an hour. So on the way back was like 60. 60 at what?
Feeling like Superman.
60 at like 220, 230 watts. It's just the bike was flying. And but that, like, the thing is, I would say, like, you could have paced it better, but the conditions were changing so fast. Like I said, the people who went earlier didn't experience that wind for the first lap, so it was neutral. So they could have evenly paced it. Then the first half lap, and then it was fast, and then suddenly it became slow, and then fast again. You just don't know in which direction. And the wind, after we finished our event, the wind completely switched directions. And I've not experienced conditions like that. So it's in order to pace it, because of the dust storms, right? It's very, very turbulent wind. So in order to pace an effort like that, you really need to be aware of what's happening around you, aware that, if you're holding 60 here, you're not holding 60 on the way back. Assume 30, 35 if you're ambitious enough. But that's like another thing, I've learned from doing enough of time trials is, I don't only look at power and I don't only look at speed. Like, so anyone who wants to get into time trialing and wants to understand how to pace it, you have to look at both of them in accordance to each other. So if you are getting speed, don't look at the power number. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Don't try and force the power, because you trying to force the power might in fact play a negative role. You trying to force the power could mean your position gets worse, which means you're wasting energy just to go maybe 1 kilometer an hour faster. Like, you could put out 20, 30 watts extra, but you'll go 1 kilometer an hour faster. But then switch that around. If you're not getting speed, start looking at the power number. Right? If you're going slowly, you need to understand that, okay, there's something acting on you which is making you go slowly, which is either wind or gradient. And now, in order to maximize your performance, you need to start putting out the power there. When you are going slowly. So if your speed, for my rule of thumb is, if the speed drops below 40, that's when I start considering power numbers. If it's above, otherwise I pace it normally. 40 to 50 is like, you don't pace it like how you would pace it. Anything above 60 is like, just spin the legs, relax, take a deep breath. Because for you to go at 60 to 62, from my experience, requires about 30 watts extra power, which is not required. There, I could put the 30 watts on the headwind and I'd go 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers an hour faster. So that's like something I've really learned, and it was good execution there, because I tried my best, like, not to force it. And then when I realized that the heat was, thank God I didn't look at heart rate. My goodness, last 10 minutes I think was 205 beats for me or something.
Jesus.
So I just like pushed as much as I could. At a point where the numbers were not there, I was like, okay, this is the new reality. 270 is the new 320. This is what it is. This is how it's gonna be. I just got the head down, kept it as smooth as possible in delivering the power. And then another thing in terms of pacing in a headwind is, people tend to be overgeared a lot. Because when they drop the gear, also you have quite a lot of stability when you are riding at a low cadence. Your body doesn't move as much.
Correct.
So maybe that's also a reason. But I know what that does to your muscles. You're loading them, you're making them feel heavier. You drain, like, technically you don't lose power, but you drain energy or the feeling of energy, at least the placebo factor, when your legs feel tighter, you tend to put out less power, just like you tight ho gaya bhai. Right. Like that. So I made a conscious effort to keep my cadence between 90 and 100 no matter what, like just trying to keep it in that ballpark, even in the headwinds. And even if the power dropped, I knew it was just because there's a brief section, maybe there's a tree there that's blocking the wind. It's going to come back. So if I shifted a gear, then I would suffer again and it would be constantly inefficient. So if the power dropped and the cadence was within 100, it was like, just go with it, because the power's going to come back up now when you start feeling the wind again. So that manipulating the cadence, adjusting the gears, making sure I don't shift too many times, all of those things added up into a more efficient ride. Because see, a couple of people have uploaded their Strava rides, and you can see the power based of that. I've hidden mine for the first time just because it's obnoxiously horrible power numbers. But the power difference is not that much, but the time difference is huge, just because of the certain small things that you start paying attention to. Your gearing, making sure your head is down, making sure you're using the wind in the correct way. And all of this is like, nobody's taught me this. It's just from watching cycling, learning cycling, studying the sport. It's like you have to be passionate about it to be able to even absorb this knowledge, because I've never ridden in conditions like this. I don't have any experience riding in conditions like this. It's all anecdotal. Right. It's all what people say on podcasts like this. So hopefully somebody listening, I don't ever wish you ever ride in conditions like that, but if you do, keep like cadence, position, and just learning like where to use your energy there. It becomes a very tactical point of time traveling, and that's why they call it the purest form of cycling. I just wish they would do away with TT bikes.
You want to do only Merckx?
Yeah, it's like everybody level the playing field. Ban TT bikes. Oh, it's very controversial thing I'm saying here. I didn't know it became that controversial, but I don't like TT bikes. I'm a nerd when it comes to like aero and everything.
No one loves the TT bikes. No. Even Ghana or right? No one is comfortable on a TT bike.
The thing is, it's just so much of a hassle. It's so much of an expenditure of money for you to ride it 5 times a year. Why? Just the one bike that we all have, race on that. So that's why I make it a point whenever we do any bar, BBCH, any ITTs, I don't race my TT bike unless it's nationals or something like that, selections, state selections. I just do it Merckx, because you learn so much more doing it Merckx than you do on the TT. Okay, you get experience riding the TT bike, fair enough.
But you're not missing out number of times you get to ride it also. No?
I mean, if I could not ride my TT bike, I wouldn't ever. But it is a requirement. So, but I just enjoy riding Merckx. No hate for anybody who rides at TT bikes, but I just hate TT bikes.
I mean, at one point I owned a TT bike, but I think 2014 through 15, 16 or whatever, and not that time. 16, 17. Maybe a little bit of 18.
I've seen pictures of that bike.
Yeah, because I ended up riding maybe once or twice, and the rest of the time,
expensive.
So the rest of the time it was loaned to Gagan.
Right.
So at least it was getting used, but not by me.
Yeah.
And I ended up, selling it to a triathlete, friend of mine.
Okay.
Who is riding it a lot.
Triathletes will use their TT bikes. Like I know a couple of triathletes like Ashwin and Govind in Chennai who exclusively rides his TT bike outdoors. So it's just like, it's getting a lot of, the value per ride. It's very good for a triathlete. For a road cyclist, it's like 5 rides a year, maybe? So then it's such a big investment as well to maintain it, to work on it. Come on, everything is like integrated aero, this, that. I love working on my own bikes. I hate working on the TT bike.
I mean, now you don't have a choice.
No choice.
For masters riders like you, we have a choice. We keep the road bike, put on the aero bars. Never that.
A petition to ban the TT bike. I think even Chris Froome has said it. Just ban the TT bike. The same people who win TTs on TT bikes would probably win on the road bikes, because it is what it is.
But they go way faster.
Yeah, go way faster. That is there. And they're dangerous. TT bikes are dangerous. Anyway, this has turned into a rant on TT bikes for some reason. Being a time trialist, I probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
But
nice.
It was
Oh, congrats, man!
Thank you
That's
very much.
amazing to kind of win those selections.
Yeah,
What happens now?
We're not really sure exactly. But like, even then, when they told me I won the selections, I was like being very cautiously optimistic. Went to the officials, I asked them, and they were like, "Yeah, you won, but yes, but not. We'll put out the final list, but you won." So then waited the whole day for the final list. Checked my phone like every 5 minutes, and then when it came up, I had this sense of like, "Wow, this is real right now." Like, I actually won. So what happens now? Waiting for them to confirm exactly how they're going to do this. The team. Camp or how they're selecting from, because road race and another race also happened. The road race happened. So that was I'll get into that, but yeah, just to confirm who they're selecting from what. So I'm assuming winning the TT would give me the TT slot. For the ITT. But one thing I've learned: never assume anything. Just wait for them to confirm it. But the only thing I know for sure is I won the selection trials. So that is
that is there, because they would look at. They will obviously consider the selections, but also a lot more will go into those. I guess.
Who knows? Let's just wait till Tuesday and see what they have to say about it. But then we had a road race. Which is a weird decision. First time they've done that. Not exactly sure what they were planning to achieve from having a road race, because that really doesn't determine who is a better road race, or if that is even a word. Because it's best to just have the time trials and you pick the strongest cyclists, because those are the ones who have the best opportunity of giving you the result. Now, if you were to look at where the Asians are going to be happening, Kazakhstan.
Oh.
Yeah. So elevation.
Right.
Temperature. Cold, high. We had our selections in a desert in the flat.
45 degrees.
In flat. So it didn't really make sense. But again, it's another opportunity to race my bike. I'm not going to turn it down. So, it was a pretty early move that went away with, I think, a rider from Gujarat, one or two of the Karnataka guys, and Krishna Nayakodi from the Air Force. So I was like, okay, this looks...
The sprinter.
Yeah, the sprinter. So, and he's also from Karnataka. So I looked at those and I was like, this looks like it could potentially be something. So that's when I attacked from the group with Surya Tatu on my wheel. And then Chinmay was trying to follow, but I think we were able to make a gap big enough. So then the two of us joined them. And then it became, and then there was like another Maharashtra guy and a Gujarat guy as well. So then it became a good cohesive group. Everyone was doing their part for about a lap. And then came the big boys, Manjeet from the Air Force, Manjeet from the Railways, Sahil from the Air Force, and another guy from Rajasthan. So it turned into a group of about 15 of us, and we just all rolled smooth turns. And at that point, after that, there was nobody else who was going to join us, because just the number of
strong riders,
the power in that group was there. So it was supposed to be 80 kilometers. So I had paced it or planned it to, planned fueling everything for an 80-kilometer race. But it was so hot that, thank God for these people, these saints of people. So every 2 or 3 kilometers, there were people standing with water bottles, just throwing it on us, like throwing the water on us. And then the marshals and the officials came on motorbikes beside us and handed us all water bottles to empty on. Nobody was drinking water. We were emptying it on ourselves just to cool us down. And it was like, empty it, within 5 seconds, it's gone. But it's extremely... very, very challenging conditions to like push out in. But good group worked together. Once it stopped working, there were attacks. And, I was marking a few of them, chasing them back, because a lot of people just sitting up. And I respect these guys a lot. I'm not letting them ride off to solo, like what Manjeet did at the Road Nationals in Nasik. Like with 1 lap to go or half a lap to go, he just attacked and went off, and people didn't really chase him down, and he won solo. So I was like, not happening again, not happening. Then they came up to me and he was like, "Humko entry mil gaya na, mujhe to thoda deno." So then I was like, okay, you know what, let's not, then nobody's going to let them go. But if I can sit up and not chase them, because other people, because there's 3 Air Force guys now in this group, so they're not going to chase if one of them goes. So you sort of, the dynamic now changes, right? And then So if I'm not chasing them back, there's only one other person or two people who will have to chase them back, which is Surya and Chinmay. So I sat up, made Surya chase them back. But then what had happened was, like I said, lightning alerts came in and it said in the next 24 hours. But then that 24 hours meant now. So the sky turned black.
Right.
And I don't think it's the safest thing to be out on the road with hail and lightning. Yeah. So when I thought there was 1.5 laps to go, they suddenly just were like half a lap to go. I was like, what? What do you mean half a lap to go? So we had to go and take the U-turn and then come back, and then that was it. That was the race.
Right. Yeah.
So at that point, it confused me a little bit. I didn't really know how else to play it. And at the exact moment where I was just trying to process things, the Rajasthani guy attacked and went away, and I was at the back. And then I saw him go and nobody was chasing him back. I thought, okay, wait, they think there's more left than there actually is left, because I know in another 2 kilometers is the finish. And then once we came down from a hill and I saw the finish, I was like, oh dear, this is like 1 kilometer to go. He's got around 100 meters gap on us. So that's when I was like, fine, if you don't chase him back, I remove the chance of me getting a result or anybody else getting a potential result. So like, these boys are nice to me. Why not? So I told Chinmay, sit on my wheel. And then I chased him back. Well, a really hard effort. I think it was a minute at like close to 500 or something like that. But then it's an uphill headwind finish. These guys all came out of my draft a little too soon to start their sprints. And they the Rajasthan guy crossed the line half a bike length in front of these guys. And it was just just a little too late. If they had waited 2 seconds more before sprinting, they could have got a good position in the sprint. But their sprints were just a little too long for that. And they did well. Those guys got a placing. Right. And I rolled across 10th.
Right. Good race.
I love racing in these closed fields. Even I forgot to mention the race that happened in March, the BBCH Hassan Express this year.
Right. Yeah.
NJ came for a Bangalore race after how many years he hasn't been racing. But even there we were able to create a smaller group and to work together, to work cohesively. It's just safer. It's just I think, in my opinion, just more, especially on open roads. Smaller the group that you race with, the more people you're able to understand or communicate with. Right. I think it's just easier and just makes for better racing than having big groups together. But even these guys, racing in that breakaway, it was I sort of knew all of them personally, and I could trust their riding. So you're able to sit much closer, shelter yourself more. And we're competitors. We're all hard competitors together. Right. But at the same time, you have to think about safety. And that's something that I don't feel safe about in nationals. Because in nationals, it's there are very good, very experienced riders, but there are also some who are probably doing maybe the second or third ever bike race. And I just feel the threshold in some states to get selected for nationals is extremely high, like Karnataka, Maharashtra, Punjab, Tamil Nadu now, very competitive.
Right.
But then
there are other states which
are not competitive, right? So it's just that it's not as much, not as enjoyable. Road race.
People riders with much less experience.
Riding. The stuff that you would assume would be common sense is not actually that common and it's understandable. I can't blame them.
Yeah, it comes down to experience.
Correct. So it's you, in order to be able to race with other people on this level, no matter how strong you are, you need to have a certain level of experience. And I don't think that's offered as much elsewhere, right? We are spoiled,
right? I mean, we have
in South India we're spoiled. In Chennai, Goa, Kerala, and here we're spoiled. Right. Essentially, every second weekend there's a race happening in somewhere, and it's all within drivable distances. So we could always go and take part in races that we want to take part in. But up there, they don't have those opportunities, and I don't know how we could even consider expanding or to give people opportunities to just race their bikes. Because we spoke earlier, you'll just learn so much more from racing rather than just training. You're able to push yourself so much more. And you can learn from mistakes in these races so that you don't make them in our bigger races nationals and whatnot.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So See, we've kind of you have made a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah,
You learned a bunch of things.
Yeah.
I'm sure all these learnings will come in handy in your future races and events. So I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Like,
I will tell you the story now of me wearing a shirt.
Yeah, what's all this about this
run? See, you had a little escapade into running. I think it was last year.
Correct.
Which, I don't think the cycling community was too happy about. What is this? Benki is doing running nonsense, showing off his new running shoes on social media. Where's the new bike? I think you got new shoes before you got a new bike. So that was they say keep your friends closer. Keep your enemies. They say keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. So wearing run to just show you, don't try to run again. That's disgusting behavior, as Leander would say.
Disgusting
behavior. Thank you so much for having me on. It was good to catch up.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for taking the time, man.
Of course, anytime.
Awesome.
That was my conversation with Joel. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying these podcasts and are finding them useful, please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing to it on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting app. It really helps. Thanks again for your continuous support. See you next week with another guest.